Okay. Cool. Sweet. All right. Well, that was a total failure. That's okay. I guess it happens, right? Happens to the best of us. All right. Let's see. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Actually, let me see here. 3:11. Okay, that's fine. We're gonna go ahead and just start the recording process, and let's do it. Okay, cool. So share screen, cool beans. All right, there we go. And matrix. All right. Close that out now. All right, and let's go text. Cool. Did I just did? I did. No, not Monday. Okay. Cool beans. So, let me see. Do we have anybody new joining us? Cool. Guys. Oh, sweet. All right.
Hi, Steve.
What's going on?
How are you, bud?
What's up, y'all? All right. Morning. Okay. Let me drink this quick. I'm kind of parched. That's the only kind of like downside of this is like you talk so much, you get parched really quickly. It's like, man. But then again, this is awful. I do not recommend it. It's disgusting. It's so bad. Okay. All right. Let's go into it.
Oh.
All right. Let's see. So 3:16
right there.
What's up? Oh, okay. Cool. All right, let's do this. So 31:16, 31:16.
What's up, Drake?
College Ave. Cool.
What's up with it, bro? There you are.
Yeah, man, I need a little old head nap.
All right. Okay. So, for everybody that's new and is not familiar with what this is essentially Realist. This is going to pull all of the tax records that are in the county CAD, or in CAD, I suppose. So CAD is a county appraisal district. It's actually, I wonder what kind of area this is, because that can be a very pretty flip. Let's check it out. So what we're doing today is we're going to run essentially comps on this property to really kind of figure out, one, the ARV and kind of where we need to be for it. So when we're doing this, we want to look at the bed, bath counts, property square footage, and the year built. Okay, so we got all of our information here. This is the actual MLS. And I like to do these two side by side so I don't have to go back and forth. So we're going to go to our residential, we'll go to quick. Go throw that in there. We're going to change this and put, let's check 90. So this is essentially is every status of every property in the MLS. Active is anything that's currently listed. Active under contract is anything that's listed under contract. Pending, anything that's out of the option period, pending close. And closed is a property that closed. So by default, the MLS always goes to point a quarter mile radius of whatever property address you plug in, which is good. So we've got 3 matches so far. I leave this empty, and the reason I leave it empty is because I want to see everything that is going on in that area. I want to see everything. I want to have a full bird's eye view of what is happening. If I put any sort of restrictions in here, it is going to limit what I see. It's going to limit my results. So for the criteria, I leave it blank. Now let's go into our map. We want to make sure we're not crossing any major roads. Westbury Street looks like that's going to be a major road, so I don't want to look at that. Then you got a railroad going through. Also, don't want to cross railroads either, so that's going to be a no-go. That's 405, and that is 115. That is a hell of a difference. So then you got this property here, 375, but again, that is also across a major road. So for the most part, I'm going to kind of bring this down. And what I want to look for is basically, I will look at anything that is in this little corridor here. So I'm going to draw me a little box coming all the way down. I will consider this anything in there. So anything in this little area I'll consider. And even over yonder. So that's probably going to be in the same subdivision. Okay, cool. So when looking at comps, you want to consider your subject property's characteristics, but you also want to look at the subdivision that the property is in, right? So if I can find properties that are in the same subdivision, those are going to be stronger related comps. Now, that doesn't mean you have to look at properties just in that subdivision. As long as you can find, it's stronger, but you're not always going to find comps in the same subdivision, but that's going to be most ideal. So now we've really only got one, and it sold for $115,000. Let's look when it sold, how many days on market it was. And just kind of compare it. I can tell you now it's going to be super, super small. So it's a 3-1, and we've got a 5-2. It's 1,300 square foot. Ours is 2,600 square foot. So by no means is this house actually even comparable. Sat on the market for 43 days, closed at $115,000 back in January. Let's check out what it looks like. So you got similar construction type. You've got the bricks on the outside here. You got bricks on ours as well. So it's pretty similar as far as construction type goes, but this is definitely an investment property. You can tell just by the roof, the way that's like just the shitty condition of the roof. Then you got the deterioration of the paneling here. That's also no good. And then you got deterioration here as well. So that's kind of no good as well. So kind of looking at it, yeah, long story short, it's an investment property, needs tons of work. That's why it's so cheap. So, man, everybody wants to call me today. This is not a good comp. We don't want to use this. We also don't want to use the other comps that we found. So let me go up here. Let me do this. I want to make sure we don't look at anything over here. So we're going to exclude that. And then I also want to make sure we don't look at anything past this road. Let me bring this up a little bit. Hold on. Dang, that must be an important call. But you don't have to leave a message, my guy. I'm sorry. There we go. Okay, so we'll exclude all this. Hold on. There we go. Cool beans. So now we'll only see everything in this little area for the most part. Let's go to our criteria. Let's go back 180. Okay, there we go. Now we got 5 results. Good. Okay, let's see what we got. Bear with me as I have the slowest Wi-Fi, unfortunately. There we go, cool. So right off the bat, we don't have anything that's going to be very related. You've got this one here, but I think, okay, close, cool beans. So this was built 25. if you're this far back in the year built, I would consider. I mean, I would look at a 1930s build or 1940s build. But once it starts getting up to like the 1950s, that's when I would start kind of taking it with a grain of salt. But because this is so old, for the most part, you're gonna have very similar construction types, and you're gonna see a lot of the same stuff in these properties as you would in like a 1930 or 1940 property. Where things start getting a little bit different is like mid 50s and up. That's when things start getting a little bit more different. So you want to take those with a little bit more grain of salt. So when you're going this far back, it's okay to look at something that would be like 1925 or 1927 or even 49, so on and so forth. So real quick, for the guys that are just joining, that have never comped before, do we have? Oh, darn, we don't. So let's go to Google, create a jam board real fast. So that way you'll have a criteria of what to look for. Actually, you know what? We don't have to do a jam board. I can put it in the chat. Cool beans. So let's do that. So we're going to go to our chat. Okay, so when comping, you want to essentially look at these criteria. Okay. So let's do so you want to look at similar bed and bath, 400 square feet, no more and no less from your subject property. Typically 5 years for the year built, no more, no less. Brother? Yes, sir. From the subject property. So similar bed bath, square footage. Oh, square footage. Yeah, I got square footage year built. Bed bath. And then construction type. You also want to look at stuff that is very similar to construction type. So these are the criteria that you essentially want to keep in mind when you're looking at comps. So let's go back. Okay, cool beans. So ours is a 5.2 or it's a 5.2.5, 2,600 square feet. The only one that's going to be relatively close is this one here is 2,100 square feet, and it's a 4.3. That's sold for $228,875. And let's check out the listing. So there's no photo for it. Yeah, there's no photo for it, so there's no telling how this actually looks to just determine if it's an actual ARV comp. It sat on the market for 259 days, so I'm assuming this is not an ARV comp. It's probably need quite a bit of work done to it. Okay, but then you got this one here. It's a lot smaller. It's 1,600. It's a 3.2, sold for 320. It's a very similar construction type. Okay, it's updated. It looks good. They did a really good job in the restroom. That's terrible. That's so bad. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's very original. Interesting. Cool. So overall, it's not a bad property. It's nice. Parts of it are updated, but it's not what I would consider a full ARV comp. But it is updated for the most part. So it gives us a little bit of an idea as to what people are going to pay for in this area. It's 9 days on market, so it went by pretty quickly. Sold for $320 back in October. So you want to keep that. Cool. So you want to keep that in consideration. So let's go here. So we don't really have much good data to go off on this one. So let's look at 365. We'll go back a full year. We've got 8 matches. Okay. There we go. Let's see. Still nothing here either. So that's kind of the downside to finding a property that's like this. Is not bigger doesn't always mean better. So typically, if you have a large property such as this, and you've got a lot of smaller properties in the area that are selling, your subject property is going to be limited as far as what it could potentially sell for. The potential ARV is based off of the data here. So all of these, the averages or the median sales price of any ARV comps is really going to hinder and limit what this one could actually potentially be, because it's the biggest one. So having the biggest property does not always mean it's going to be worth or essentially worth the most. It's just going to be limited by the properties around it. So 320 is the most or the highest ARV, and the next one you guys 273 is significantly smaller. But let's see what it looks like. So this is going to be a full renovation, and they probably did a really nice job. Yeah, so this is what I would consider an actual ARV comp, because everything for the most part is pretty updated. The trimming on the side, the flooring, the walls, the ceiling fan, the can lights, all that looks really good. It also has new windows; those are not original. Flooring here, the entire kitchen looks like it was redone. Like, they did a really good job on this flip. So this is what I would consider an ARV comp, because it's a true renovation. It's a true fully renovated property that did a good job. I would have updated that, but that's fine. So this one looks pretty good. The problem with it is it's not very comparable. So when we run into something like this, unfortunately, we do have to look at price per square foot for the most part. This one closed 273 back in November, 8 days on market. It was 886.99. So what we'll do, so what we'll do is we'll do, where's my calculator? Cool. So we'll do 186.99, and we're going to multiply that by our square footage. Our square foot is like 2,600 square feet. So you got 2652. That brings us to 495, 897. That is a lot. That's super high. I wouldn't really agree with that per se. So I think that's going to be just listed entirely too high. Yeah, especially for this area. So if anything, I would probably put it at like, I'd start off probably at 375 just to see where it goes. But that's a tough one. That's a really, really tough one because of how big it is. So with that, I do have questions as well, because I do not know everything. Let's see. Steve, are you still here, man?
Yes, sir. I'm driving, so bear with me.
Sweet, brother. What's your take on that, man? So when you're looking at properties like that, where you
So I know that area quite well because I've looked, and as you guys all saw, you've got your call on those railroad tracks was 100%, man. Because literally across the street there, or across the railroad tracks, you've got stuff selling for $700,000. And it does not match up at all across Berry even. It is a giant house. I'd be real interested to see what my take would be, what would the reno cost? That would be my main concern. But I'm thinking you could probably get close to probably about 325 on that one, in my opinion.
That makes sense, because and this is like what I was saying too. Like, just because you got the biggest house in the block doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be worth the most.
Well, and this one is right across the street from a park as well. So it opens up to like commercial than ones that are back not in that same area.
Yeah.
On that same street. So it does have a benefit there. I have actually had to drop off papers for a client one time over there, and it's actually a really nice street, real wide. And again, but that view is awesome. So I think you'd be above 300. But if you can lock it up at a decent price and not have a crazy reno, that'd be a good deal.
Yeah. Sweet. Cool. So we'll run it off of a 325 because it's always better to be super conservative than it is to be over, right?
Yeah.
So, and with your expertise, man, like and everything that you just said, I agree 100%. So if we're running this at a 325 ARV, let's say we'll do 325 and multiply that by let's do 0.7. That brings us to 227,500. And because it's so damn big
and old,
big and old, I would probably budget like a good 75, 80 for it. Because there's a really good chance that you're going to have to switch out the plumbing because it's probably going to be cast iron.
Yeah.
I doubt it's going to be a foundational slab, so it's probably going to be pier and beam, which means it'll be easier to get in and change that plumbing. And then I would plan for all the heavy ticket items and even in full interior cosmetics. So I would say 85. I think 85 would be a pretty healthy budget for it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, I would throw that 10% contingency in there just ahead and just go 90. Just because that area, if it hasn't, it probably hasn't been touched in probably 40 years.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, so the area itself is just, I'm trying to describe it the best way I can is, it was probably a rental at some point. That house specifically was probably a duplex when it was originally built, since it's so big. So, I mean, there's probably been some hodgepodge handyman stuff in there that you're going to have to account for. So I would go 90.
Sweet, let's do it, man. So taking off a 90K for the reno, that brings our maximum allowable offer at 137,500. So what that means for us is if we're wholesaling this property, that means we essentially want to push this deal out at 137,500 because the last thing we want to do again is build a shitty reputation for ourselves by pushing stuff out that's listed way too high. So if you're willing to get solid at like a 0.7 minus a healthy A or minus a healthy rehab, and you're pushing it out right at maximum allowable offer, you're going to get buyers for it for the most part. You're not going to run into a lot of stuff. People aren't going to clown you for your numbers or anything like that. So your MAO for this one particularly would be about 137,500. Now that is not what you're going to offer the seller, because if you offer the seller 137,500, you leave no room to make an assignment fee. So based off of the amount of the assignment fee you want to do, let's go ahead and budget 25. So let's do minus 25. We would offer the seller 112,500. That would be our offer to the seller to make a $25,000 assignment fee on this deal. Does that make sense? Sweet. So that's where I would come in on this one, Savannah. It's 112,500. And for those reasons, because one, again, it's just super big. It's the biggest house in the block. It's going to need a lot of renovations done to it. And because of that area, there's not a whole lot of investment activity. So I would be more conservative when looking at the percentage for the ARV. So instead of doing like 0.75, I would do a 0.7 for this particular area. Just to be a little bit more conservative with our numbers. So that way we can assure that we can push it out and find a buyer for it at the end of the day. So 112,500 would be our offer for this one. Cool beans. Cool beans.
Okay, sounds good. Doesn't matter if it sits on that double lot. Like, does that add any value to it?
A double lot, if it's plotted separately, like if it's two separate plots, then essentially you may be able to do a new build on it. But that also kind of depends on several other factors, and there's not a whole lot of like new builds going up in that area, so I wouldn't really bet on it. So if anything, I wouldn't say it adds up like too much value to it. I would just run it off of based off. I would run it based off of the property itself, and if we can get the lot for it, cool. But I wouldn't bank on it, and I definitely wouldn't bank on a new builder or a builder or developer coming in to build on it, just because that area isn't being gentrified just yet. So if we're looking at a new build like that, typically what I'd like to see are some 2023 builds or 2024 builds being thrown up, or even 2022 builds, because that tells us that that area is being gentrified and it is an up and coming area. And so we could look at all that data and we have it to kind of back up like why it would be a good idea to do a new build on it. But because we don't have that data, I wouldn't really like lean too heavily on it. Does that make sense?
Yep, sounds good.
Cool. Does anybody have? I've got a few properties to run as well. Yes, let's do it, Boone. All right, let's do it. All right. So let's see here. Let's see if I got access to Oklahoma. Okay, let's see. Ooh, Propelio, don't fail me now. Watch it fail me. It's gonna be so embarrassing. Binge hand. Where are you at? 5 binge hand court. I have a feeling. Oh no, I misspelled it. Okay, if y'all don't know yet, I am not the strongest speller. I will say that. Okay, so Boone, let's start with this one, man. I'm not super familiar with the Oklahoma kind of market per se, but one of the things that we did cover in the training earlier this morning was location. So what I would want to consider, and you may know more about this location than I would, 100%, but I want to see how big. Okay. So we want to see
Shawnee's an area.
It's a what?
It's a good area.
It's a good area. But is it like a, I guess, big area? I mean, it's not too far from Oklahoma City. So I could definitely see a lot of people moving here, and there being quite a bit of population growth with jobs growing in Oklahoma City. With the city growing, traffic gets worse. People are naturally going to push out to these smaller little towns surrounding the major city. So I could definitely see Shawnee being a pretty decent area. So let's check it out. Okay. All right. So here we got it's a 3-bed, 2-bath. It's 2,200 square feet, built in 78. And based off of the last 6 months worth of data, we got quite a bit of activity in this area, which is good. That's what we want to see. Okay, so let's kind of zoom in a little bit and block it off. We just want to look at what's going on in this particular area. So red is anything that has sold. I guess teal. I don't really know. Aqua, maybe. Hell, I don't know what color that is. But that color is anything that's active. And blue is anything that is currently pending. So let's go ahead and check out what we've got. Let's see. We have a 3.2, 2,200 square feet. All right. So right off the gate, we've got this one here, 5 Turkey Knob. It's a 3.2, 72 build, 2,500 square feet. Pretty comparable. And it's sold in November. That's even better. So let's check it out. Okay, so this is going to be a 2-story home. And again, one of the things that we want to look at, one is construction type, and 2, is our property a 2-story property as well? If it is not, then we cannot use this as a comp. But if it is, then this would be a pretty good ARV comp to go off of because it's updated, they renovated it, and it's got a little bit of originality, but for the most part, it looks pretty nice. So we'll just put a question mark on that real quick. Let's go ahead and check out our subject property. It is not, oh shoot. I don't know if this is 2-story because sometimes you have those weird little, rooms. It's like a story and a half. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it's probably not. So let's go back to Propelio. Where are the property details? Yep. So this is a 1-story build. So we can leave that as a question though, because it is fairly similar as far as the characteristics go. It's just a 2-story. So we can take the overall sales price into consideration, but we cannot really lean on it too heavily. So let's keep looking. 3.2. That's too small. Let's see. Here we go. Here's another one. Sold for $230. So that's a pretty significant change. You got 3.2 to 78 build. And it's got 2,100 square feet. So it's just a little bit smaller. Let's check it out. Okay. So that's looks a little bit different. Sold in November, 59 days on market. Definitely not an ARV comp, I can tell you that, but it looks like they try to make some updates to it, sort of. It's just not the nicest updates. So I would say this is probably leaning more towards this is definitely leaning more towards an as is comp. And it's got a pool. So if our subject property does not have a pool, we cannot compare properties that have a pool. You can take it into consideration, but you're going to have to deduct quite a bit of work or quite a bit from it. Pools are a little bit weird. So let's check out the aerial view. That did not work like I was hoping it to. Okay. So, well, seeing that there's a whole lot of trees in the backyard, we probably don't have a pool. But let me see if I can find it on our property details. Pool. Yes, there's no pool. Otherwise, it would let us know. Okay, so that one's going to be probably a no-go. Let's keep looking. That's all right. So which one was that? Because I don't want to look at that one again. That was this one, right? Yeah. Okay. So put a thumbs down so we don't look at it again. Okay, what year is 78? This is 86, so it is a little bit newer on the newer side. But let's look at it. 10 Windsor Court. Nope, that's totally different. So this is an entirely different build from our subject property. So that's going to be a no-go, even though it is similar, like bed, bath count, and square footage. It's newer, and because it's so much newer, like the overall architecture of the property is entirely different. So that's something you want to look at and take in consideration, is the architecture of the property. Yeah. Okay. So, but I'll put a question mark because it lets us know that somebody's willing to pay $300,000 for a property in this kind of condition. So we can consider it, but don't lean on it. Definitely don't lean on it. 72, 1600, 14. All right. So for the most part, that's pretty much it. Let's look at everything that's currently active. Here we go. It's a 3.2, 2,200 square feet, 78 build, listed at 265. Okay. So this architecture is a little bit more similar, even though the exterior is different. It's a little bit similar in architecture. So far, pretty much like original. So this is going to be an as-is comp. If this sells, then we know our property at very bare minimum could at least go for 265. If this sells at 265, this would be an as-is comp. There's not really anything updated, no renovations. Wow, that's horrendous. So nothing too crazy. What's up, bro?
I didn't interrupt you, but did you let the wholesaler know about?
Yeah.
I just don't want to make sure that we don't lose the deal or nothing.
No, we're good. We're gonna hop on a conference call between us, him and Ashley, his partner as well. And then we're also going to establish a group chat for everybody to be a part of too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I don't want you losing out on.
No, brother, you're good. And then they should be shooting us over an email with all wiring instructions. I told them to have all of us included on it, so that way we could all like stay up to par and stay up to date
All
on
right,
it
that's
too.
cool. All right.
Sweet. So, yeah, that's kind of a weird one. I wouldn't bank on it. It's not like an ARV or anything. Let's see. Okay, you get another one listed at 270, pretty similar. It's 3-bed, 2-bath. It's 86 bills, so it's probably gonna look like the one that we look. Yeah, it's because it's in the same subdivision as the last one, so it's probably gonna look similar to it. It does, so it's gonna be a no-go. Well, actually, you know what? Let me look at that because that's listed at 270 and it's got 26 days on market. Okay. It's not terrible, but it's not like the best either. So it's probably going to sit a little bit longer. All right, let's keep looking. 91. No, that's way too far out. You get a 4.2 70 build, 1,900 square feet. So it is smaller, but listed at 155. I don't know what condition this is in. This is a fixer upper. This is definitely not going to be what we want to look at. Okay, here we go. This one's bigger, a lot bigger. It's listed at 370. Oh, snaps. So this is pretty similar in the overall architecture and construction. And it looks like it is an ARV comp. So some investor bought this property up and poured some money into it and renovated it because, I mean, it's brand new. So far, it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good. Okay. Yeah, so they actually did a pretty good job on this flip. Now, the reason I want to look at this is because this is an ARV comp, and it's sitting on the market at 100 days, or it's been sitting on the market for 100 days, and it's listed at 370. So I know for a fact we cannot list our property anywhere near that price for two reasons. One, this property is about 400 square feet bigger, and two, it's not moving. It's just sitting there and it's stagnant. So this is actually a good one because it lets us know, like, hey, you can't go above that number. There's just no way. So that's good to look at. This is why you want to look at active properties, right? You want to look at active comps because this is an ARV comp that's sitting on the market for 100 days. You want to consider that. See, 1970 build, 1980. No, not really. Okay, so we know for a fact that we can't go over 370. There's just no way. Now, there's not a whole lot of data to go off of here so far. We've got this one here that sold at 320, and this one's still bigger as well. But it's a 2-story. So there's that. It's ARV, so based off of the data that we do have, we can't list our property for 320 because it's not going to sell because it's not like this. It's not a 2-story, and it's also not 2,500 square feet. So I want to see if we can find some more properties or more comps because I do not want to bank off of just one comp to determine an ARV. You want more than one sold comp. So let's go back to 9 months and see if we can pull up some more data. Okay, we pulled up a little bit more. Let's see. 21 square feet. It's 2016 new. All right. So what I'm looking for, I'm looking at year built and square feet. I got to have stuff in the 70s and close to 2,000 square feet. That's what I'm looking for. And I think we looked at this one's a 3.2 sold in October 2005. Did we look at this one? No, we didn't, but totally different architectural type, and it's as is. So that's not what we want to see. 278, 205. Let's go put a no. Okay, let's keep going. 89. No, 72, 1600, sold at 209. What does that look like? That's a no-go. Architectural type. Yeah, definitely no-go. Okay. Yeah, it's just a lot different. So I wouldn't even, there's no way. And it's a lot smaller too, so probably not. You got that one at 300. But it's 86. No. Dang, I think I really do need glasses. This is so bad. 78, 70, 2016, no, 2000, no. Nope, way too small. Just double checking to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so nothing there. Let's go back to 12 months. Got a little bit more. Zoom into the sub. Don't want to stay in the subdivision. Don't want to cross any major roads. MacArthur is going to be a major road, and you're going to have a different subdivision over there. So I don't want to look at stuff over there. So let me take that down. There we go. Got 320. Okay. Oh no, that's pending. Interesting. That's pending. Okay, that's not bad. 320, 370. Okay. It's still super huge though. All right, so let's keep going. So we got ours there. 78, 1,700 square feet, 230. What does that look like? As it is. 70, 86, no, 75, 23, sold for 267. Similar. But this is very as is. That's sold for 267. Okay. So we could definitely get more than 267, that's for sure. 75, 80, 80, 72. 1997, 1996, 72. Damn, it's a big house. What does that sell for? It's over 280. Oof, it's an ugly house. It's a big, ugly house. It's terrible. Okay, so there's not a whole lot of ARV comps for the most part. You've got two solid ones. Everything else seems to be kind of as is, or it's just entirely too small. Whether your bill isn't as close. So looking at Turkey Knob, we'll take that one at 320, and then since this one is pending, we could look at the 370 or take it in consideration. So if I were to put an ARV on this one, 32 is 370. If I were to put ARV, I know we're in the 300s, that's for sure. This one's just a little bit bigger, but it's also not like a full reno. It's nice, but flooring could be different here. Cabinetry, countertops, paneling can go. That's pretty bad. Yeah, I would say okay, so the flooring isn't uniform throughout the house either. That's a pretty big house. I would probably say a good 310, 315 would be solid for an ARV for this one. So that's where I'd put ARV is at 310. I'd rather be more conservative than be over. So if we're looking at a 310, then multiply that by 0.7. because it's in a little bit more of a rural area. That brings us to 217, and because this property is 2,300 square feet, I would go ahead and just budget probably like 85 for it. It's 132. What does it look like from the outside? Let's get a roof. Roof looks pretty good. Looks like it's well maintained for the most part. Just needs some landscaping work. So 85 might even be too big, but I'd rather be over than under. So let's stick to 85. That's one other thing, guys. Like it's better to be over budgeted on your rehabs than it is to be under budgeted on your rehabs, especially for these bigger properties, because you never really know what's going to go, like what's going to pop up. And because this is in Oklahoma and it's not in Texas, I'm not familiar with several things. One, not familiar with the build types in Oklahoma, what year, how far you're back, like I guess cast iron plumbing goes with the builds. I'm not familiar with the soil either, and soil plays a big part in foundation. So I don't know how that's going to look. So I want to take those little things into consideration. So I'd rather be over than under on this, and I'd put it at like 85. So if we put it at 85, that brings us to 132. So boom, depending on how much you want to make on this one, man, I'd be anywhere from 112. I'd probably start off at 112. That'll, because if you could lock the more of a gap you can create for your assignment fees, essentially the more negotiation room you have to come up. And again, if you can get a seller to feel like they're winning in the negotiations, great. So people don't like being closed, and people like to feel, or homeowners like to feel like they just won the negotiations if they can bring you up. So that's also something to consider. So when you have a bigger assignment fee, you have that room, that wiggle room to play with. So that's kind of where I'll come in at with this one. So if we take off 20, I'll just start with a 20K fee. I'd start off at like 112. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. What are your thoughts,
Yeah.
bro? What do you think?
No, I'm just learning. So I think, yeah, I went through the math too, and that looks good to me. So it's an older lady, 91 years old. So I don't know if how that'll go talking with her, but we'll see.
Man, does she have kids?
I don't know. I haven't spoke to the lady. Just have someone who presented it to me, and I was like, well, shoot, might as well see if, throw it your way and see what I could get as far as, the ARV and the start point and all that. That way, at least I kind of know. I don't think I'll talk. When you negotiate with these people, the sellers, the first time you're talking to them is just building rapport, right?
For the most part. So typically when you're going into like a seller appointment, or you're sitting down and you're meeting them for the first portion of it, you do want to focus about 85% of your appointment on building rapport and building trust. So with her being up in age, there's a few things that I always kind of want to know and figure out. One is like, I want to know why she's selling the property, right? But you can't directly ask, why are you selling the property? So if you ask somebody why, that's going to trigger a lot of sales resistance right up front, and you don't want to do that. So that's like the last thing you want to do, because as a kid, when somebody asks us why, what does it trigger? It causes us to get defensive, right? And so that's going to be a subconscious reaction. So never ask the question why. Why are you selling? Rather, you can ask why, the question why, you just got to word it differently. So in this case, it'd be like, boom, so, I guess I'm just a little bit curious, like what's got you looking to, possibly part ways with the property, like now though, right? You're asking the same question, you're just asking it differently. And It's also not invasive, and it's not intrusive, and it's very neutral. So that's one question I would ask, like, what's got you looking at, possible parting ways with the property now? And she's gonna tell you something along the lines of, well, I'm getting up in age and I probably can't manage it. And you want to just listen to what she says, because if she brings up anything about kids, perfect, right? She's like, yeah, I just want to, I guess, like, if man, I don't want my kids to have to go through the probate process or anything like that, right? Well, now like, one, she's letting it go because she doesn't want her kids to deal with the trouble of it, or have the trouble of it being a headache later on and have to go through the whole probate process. So there's several things that you can take that, right? So you could look at it and kind of lean in and find out, one, is there a mortgage in place? Does she have any kind of liens on the property? Is it free and clear? If it's free and clear, how would she feel about seller financing it? So that way we can create a promissory note that can then get passed down to her kids. So her kids are now collecting a monthly check for X amount of years, for 30 years, unless there's a balloon. And if it is ballooned, let's say it's ballooned at 15 years, well, now her kids, they don't just get a monthly check residually for 15 years, but then they're going to get a lump sum, a massive lump sum on that 15-year mark, right? Would that be beneficial to her? Would that be beneficial to her kids? Like, what does she think, right? So those are the kind of questions I would ask for somebody that's kind of up in age like that. But when you're doing that, when you're asking these questions, you're gonna be building rapport, right? When you build rapport, it's not about what's your favorite, I guess, baseball team, or your favorite basketball team, or your favorite NFL team. What do you think about the weather? It's not about what's your favorite pastime activity, stuff like that. That's not really, you're getting to know them, but that's not how you want to build rapport in that way. You want to build rapport based off of asking the right questions and listening to what they're telling you. Because when you do it that way, then you're going to come off as being a trusted authority. And when you're that trusted authority, now you're the guy that they're going to come to when they have questions, right? So they'll come to you when they have questions, and then you do another thing. You essentially, Steve Train calls it scorching the earth. You scorch the earth for other investors or wholesalers that come in and make it all about the property. So if they come in, if you have other investors coming in, talking with her, and it's all about the property, like the property characteristics, the condition, how much is she willing to let the property go, and you make it all about like the number and price, she's not going to like them very well by any means. If anything, she's going to get more defensive with them than she would with you. So when you ask the right questions and you start diving in, it sets you apart in a lot of different ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, so you always want, and here's a big word of advice, and this is kind of tying into sales negotiations, as I guess all that was too. You want to have your clients not thinking about the price, but thinking about the results, right? If you sell this property, what is life going to look like for you after? How is selling this property going to help you, right? If you sell the property, how much stress is it taking off of you, right? You want to have your clients and your prospects results-based thinking. You do not want them being price-based thinking. And that's where a lot of newer wholesalers and experienced wholesalers mess up at, is they keep everything centered on price. But if you keep getting everything, or if you keep centering everything on price, you're going to get a lot more objections. So have it results-based thinking. Just build rapport with them, be authentic, be genuine, because at the end of the day, one, we don't know if there's a service that we can truly provide. Two, we don't know if selling the property is really in their best interest. And the only way we can find those things out is by having a very skillful conversation where we're able to dive in and get below the surface and ask really important questions.
Okay.
Make sense?
Do you have a list of those type of questions?
I could put a list of those type of questions together. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're rattling them off your head pretty easy, but you know, when you get into the conversation with somebody, to have, you know, a reference, especially when you're new at it, having something to reference to where, yeah, you're not making it about the numbers, you're making it about them getting excited about what's going to happen after the sale.
Yeah. Yeah. I could definitely do that. I could put a list together, a whole document, like a little document put together to where it's shareable and everybody can have it.
Yeah, like bullet point questions type, you know, like these are the hot spots you want to hit on, and just kind of ask them, but it's not directly, like you said, if you're always making it about the sale of the property and the numbers, then yeah, most people do get defensive.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, we could definitely do that. So I'll work on that this week to make sure you guys have it. To make sure y'all have it this coming weekend or this coming following week, Monday. Okay. Does anybody have? Let's see, if we're looking at data for a particular city or area. City data.com. Let's check this out. Oh, this is pretty neat. Oh, dang! It covers the whole U.S. too. I like that. Man, that is a pro tip, bro. Thank you. Yeah, that's cool. That is a huge pro tip, brother. Thank you. I didn't even know about this. Man, that's awesome. Sweet. I'm going to save this actually. And we'll do, actually, let me go back here. Now save. Citydata.com. Holy cow. And delete. Cool. Done. Sweet. Killer. Daniel, thank you for that, man. That was awesome. All right. So let me see. Does anybody have any other particular properties that you guys want to take a look at? I've got two that I have to run for sure. Okay, let's dive into these two real quick. So the first one is going to be this one. There we go. All right, let's check this out. Let's go to our matrix. Oh, darn. Close that. Tax, release, tax. Cool. Okie doke. Yeah. Cool. All right, so let's check this one out. 3-1. It's 1,100 square feet, built in the 50s. Okay. Search residential quick. Yeah, you're welcome, brother. You're more than welcome. Okay, let's check this out. So this one's probably going to be a quick rundown. So 0 matches, that's not good. Don't want to see that. Let's go to 180. We got 3 matches. Let's check our map, right? So anything over here, no goes. Anything over here, no go. This is going to be a different subdivision. I can tell you just by looking at it, because you got smaller lot sizes here, and these lot sizes are a little bit bigger, and they're not as cookie cutter as this is. So these are going to be some different subdivisions, but we can kind of look into it a little bit and see what we can find. So for the most part, I want to make sure that these properties are covered in this corner. Not going to look at that. Don't really care for it. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, split screen. Here we go. 3-1, 1,100 square feet, built in the 50s. Let's see what we got. You got 131 here. It's a little bit smaller, nothing too crazy. Sold for 170. Okay, let's go to it. And I believe they're asking 150 for this property. But this is going to be, it's not an ARV property, not at all, but it's turnkey, which means it's livable and you could put a tenant in there and start renting it out for the most part, based off of the condition that it looks like it's in. but it would be a really, for the most part, under market rate rent because it's not ARV. So that sold for 170. Okay, you got 3 2s here. Both of these are pretty close to about 200K. So this is a 2-car garage. This is going to be pretty. They just slapped lipstick on this. They just threw on some countertops, some ugly flooring in the rooms, cabinetry, maybe cabinetry, and just slapped the walls with paint. That's pretty much all they did. So not a very pretty one. Probably going to be the same condition here. Yeah, so pretty, yeah, no bueno. So overall, we don't have any good comps, and we also don't have a lot of comps. Like we do not have a lot of comps. Do get a new build that's listed at 299. How many days on market is this? 65 days. So that lets us know, one, this area is pretty slow as far as the overall market activity, and two, this property is listed way too high. That's why it's not selling. So that does not work. Let's go back to our criteria. Let's go back 365. Gives us 10 matches. Okay, 3-3, nope. 4-2, nope. 3-2. This is what we looked at already. Here we go. We got 3-1. Sold for 200,000. Pretty similar square footage. This looks like it's going to be possibly ARV. Yep. So flooring's redone, kitchen's redone. They just should have put a nicer, I guess, backsplash. It's got new carpet, and it looks like it's got a new roof. But that's all we could really see. Don't you just love agents that take a plethora of photos? They're the best. Let's see. Sold, we're 49 days on market. Sold almost a year ago for $200,000. So that's kind of tough. I wouldn't consider this like a full ARV simply because you've got tiling for the backsplash, which is not really today's standard for the most part. And this isn't, black is pretty, I wouldn't say it's today's standards. When you're looking at stuff today, you got a lot of quartz, white quartz going on. And then you got the shower. That hasn't been updated. You got this. You've got that scuff there. All of that right there is pretty original. So that lets us know for the most part they didn't do a whole lot of work in the restrooms. So it's probably safe to say that it's no bueno. They did paint the walls. They put in new carpet. They put in new trim or baseboards, I suppose. And then they updated the exterior. So nothing too crazy. So I think if we were to do a full ARV, we could expect at least $200,000 at minimum. Let's keep looking. Let's see what else we can find. This 160. Is there anything else around that 200K range that is ARV or similar? I know we got these two, but not a fan of those. Why did this one sell for so high? It looks like it's so bad. So don't judge a book by its color, right? They did the flooring, but the kitchen's original. Restroom's pretty original as well. It kind of blows my mind that sold for so much. That sold for $212,000, 74 days on market back in July. Okay. This is going to be ARV, sort of. Would have been ARV, but the cabinetry is pretty original. But they did a better job with the backsplash. They did a better. Well, I guess that's probably quartz. It's just black, but this kitchen looks a lot better than the other property. And then you got this dome light. That could have been a can light, so that way it's more recessed with the ceiling. But overall, that's weird. That just looks funny to me. And then it looks like they didn't paint that correctly either. Flooring, it looks a little dirty, but that's okay. Then mopping can't fix that. Overall, it's not too bad. This is probably one of the more updated ARV comps, or not ARV comps, but more updated properties that we've looked at so far. So that's 1,300 square feet, and it's 4.2, significantly bigger as far as bed, bath goes, and it's sold for $245. So man, you definitely can't count this. That sold for $295, 167 days on market back in March. So if I'm looking at that, 301, 199, 200. I'd probably just put it at 200, honestly. Yeah, I'd put it at 200,000. So let's do 200. Let's do 0.7. It's 140. It's 1,100 square feet. It's probably gonna need everything in it, so I'm gonna say about 55. So we'd be in about. I'd probably come in at about 70. What are they wanting? Oof. They want 165, bro. There ain't no way. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. ARV is not 220 either. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So that's no bueno. That is not gonna work. Anybody have questions on that one? Cool. All right. Let's see what else we got.
Hey, Darion, I don't have a question on that, but I have a question.
What you got, brother?
What is the rule on the carport and the garage, and how you differentiate the cost, minus or subtract on that?
So, like, if a property has a carport in comparison to a property that has a garage?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Or how would you like deduct it if, like, say for instance, the carport is something that can be taken off of the property instead of fixing? How would you go about comping that?
That's a good question. So anytime you see, if you have a property that's got a carport, if you can find other comps that are similar with carports, that's going to be stronger. But if all the comps around you are all garage, like they all have a garage on it, your property, if you can find an ARV, let's say you find like two ARVs or two ARV comps that are very similar to the property characteristics, the only difference is the garage. But let's say they sold between like that 270 and 280 range, right? So on a ideal day, or a sunny day, I suppose, you could call your ARV 275 and it'd be solid. If it sold within like last 90 days, even maybe 180. But if your property lacks the garage, you're not going to get that same amount of ARV. You're not going to get as much for it. So in that case, I would probably put the ARV at about 260. Yeah, I would say anywhere from 255 to about 260. So like a $15,000 to $10,000 difference I would say it's pretty realistic as far as anything as far as that goes. So that's how I'll kind of, I guess, count for that, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you killed it.
Sweet.
Because I heard it before. It's just it went over my head at the time that I wasn't doing comps to even learn it. It was just something I heard, so I wanted to freshen up that make sure I had it down pat.
Sweet. Yeah. So I would definitely do. I would
about 10 stacks.
Yeah, 10, 15.
And depending on the square footage of the other garages, if they got large car garages versus something small, of course you would make that account. But like, say for instance, it's not there at all.
Like no garage, no carport.
Right. Because some people, man, down here in Fort Worth, right off of Rosedale, people had garages there, right? But when they bought the house, they decided to build something detached in the backyard. So it was, I try to look at worst case scenarios and then try to figure them out before I run into them, so that I'll have something similar. I mean, close to an answer to be like, okay, I can figure this out. You know.
Yeah.
All right. But I got you though, about 10 to 15 difference. Got it.
Yeah. But you made a good point too. You said something there. Like if it's a 2-car garage, I would probably do even a little bit more, because a 2-car garage is going to be more attractive than a 1-car garage, and a 2-car garage is going to be a hell of a lot more attractive than a carport. So I would definitely even budget even more for that. Direct, pretty much.
So they just need to make a call basically, or let you know what they're doing.
Yeah, for the most part. So the wholesaler literally lives right across the street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he's a cool dude too, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, super cool dude.
All right, I guess you appreciate that.
Yeah, brother. So if you're looking at something that's got like a 2-car garage, I would deduct a little bit more. Actually, I probably wouldn't even consider that as a comp, just because of that garage. So I would refrain from using it. Now, another one is like garage conversions. Garage conversions are very big, especially here in the DFW area. So that's also something that I would look at as well. So if you've got a comp, you'll see this a lot. This happens quite often. You get a comp that's your subject property is 1,400 square feet and it has a garage not converted. Then you have comps that are, 1,400 square feet that have garages that are converted. So realistically speaking, that the original square footage for those comps, or for those comps, it's not 1,400 square feet. It's actually a little bit smaller. So if you were to convert your garage, you're looking at least another, 100, 200 square feet more. So it's a little bit different, right? So when you're finding anything that has a garage conversion, if your subject property has a garage conversion, you want to do your best to find other properties that have had garage conversions as well. If your property does not have a garage conversion, you want to do the best you can to find properties that do not have garage conversions. But worst case scenario, if you have to do either or, then you want to consider that conversion that's there, right? So if your garage, or your subject property has a garage conversion, but all the comps in the area don't, well, you have to budget to reconvert that garage back into a garage. Does that make sense? And so when you do that, when you take that into consideration and the seller tells you, oh yeah, like tax record says my property is 1,200 square feet, but the garage is converted, so really it's 1,400. Well, no, it's not, because I have to reconvert this garage into a garage, putting it back to the original square footage of the property. So in that case, that's when you want to start looking at other comps that are similar to the original square footage of the property and not with the property in the conversion. Does that make sense?
Got it.
And then it's vice versa for the other way around. So those are two things that was a really good question. That was a really good question. So that's how you kind of want to look at garage conversions. So yeah, they can be a little weird. All right. Okay, let's see here. I know I've got a few more in here. Savannah, I know you've sent me a few. Let's see here.
I got another one too, and it actually is kind of like what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So on Zillow, it says it's a 4.2 with a 1-car garage, but on Propelio, it says it's a 3.1 with a 3-car garage, but the square feet's the same.
Oh, that's weird.
I've come across that a couple of times.
Yeah, that's weird. On Zillow, is it for sale by owner, or is it listed on the MLS?
No, it should be on the MLS. I just sent you the address in the chat.
Okay, let's check it out. I can.
I've been sitting over here like working it to see what I could get on it.
Okay, let's see. So let's go here. Fort Worth, search. Let's check it out. Okay, so it does have a garage for sure. That's weird. It's actually got 2 garages. So you got one over here. Yeah, so it's a 3-car garage, which is very unusual. I've never seen a property like this. This is the first one. You got a 2-car garage over here on the side that looks like it might have been an addition that was made, because that is not an attached garage. And then you got this garage here that is an attached garage. So I'm thinking the original garage is this one, simply because it's the only one that's actually attached to the property itself, which means they probably threw this one up there as an addition. So let's see.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell if it was converted because they don't have a picture of the inside of it. But that's what I was thinking maybe they did, was convert that one and add the 2-car on as, so they could convert that one over.
Active listing. Let's check out. Let's see what they say in the description. What is it? 4844.
It's normally a carpenter that does stuff like that. He was bored. He was like, I'm going to add on to the house.
Yeah.
I got some extra boards from the last job we did.
Yeah. Let's see. 3
No,
car.
listen to that.
No, it's just a 3-car garage. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's very unusual, which is why it's been sitting on the market for so long, because they probably got overpriced too. Yeah, that's just very unusual. That's just a big old addition.
I put all that hard work in building that extra room. They don't want it.
Yeah, that's what you'll hear too. That's literally, I put so much work into it. It's like, man, but doesn't always, like, you put all that money into it and do all that work, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. So, and I think that's something a lot of homeowners kind of struggle with as well. Let me see. Oh, I don't know why I did that. I've got it right there. Let's go back. One more time. There we go. Cool. Let's check it out. So we got our criteria. Let's go back. Let's change that. Actually, there's not a lot of results, so I'm just going to leave it at 365. We get a 4.2. It's 1,400 square feet, built in the 50s. Okay. Definitely going to be the only one like this, that's for sure. So 1,400. What does this one look like? Looks like a regular house. Okay, super original, nothing crazy here. Okay, here's an ARV comp. Pretty nice, nothing crazy. That's 1,000 square feet, super. So it's not significantly smaller, but it's small. And it looks like they don't have a garage either. So that's something to think about as well. Looks like there may have been one, but they converted it. Yeah, that right there is a garage door. So that was a garage, and they just converted it. Okay. 3.2, fully remodeled. Yep, 60 days on market, sold $225 back in December. So you could look at that as price per square foot, because we're gonna, unfortunately, I hate price per square foot, but we're gonna have to look at this as price per square foot. I think you got 3.1. What does this look like? So this has a garage conversion. It's going to be ARV. Yep. Yeah. So did a pretty good job. Nothing too crazy. This is the garage. You can tell
the actual, that's the property.
Like, this is the house? What do you mean?
The 4844? Isn't that what it said? Oh, what does that say?
4844?
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking on the wrong side. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, you're fine. So yeah, this is ARV. This is pretty good. So we got two ARV comps, which means that we've got two solid like that tells us what people are going to pay price per square foot in this area. So let's go ahead and check that out. And again, I'm not big on price per square foot. I always use it as a last resort. You got a lot of people in this, like a lot of guys in this industry that'll tell you like, no, price per square foot is the most important metric, but it's really not, because it's either going to be overpriced or it's going to be underpriced as far as your ARV goes. So that's why I don't really like it. Okay, that didn't work. So let's try it again. Quick CMA. Cool, not working. Love it. So let's do this. 182.42. So 182.42 plus, what's the other property? This one, 220.37 plus 220.37. So what I'm looking at is what the price per square foot was when this property sold. I added those two up because I want to see what the median is. So let's see what that comes out to. So we're at 201.39. We've got a 1,400 square foot house. Realistically, this property would not be this high for price per square foot because it's so much bigger. So the bigger the property, typically you're going to have a lower price per square foot. That's again why I don't like using this, but last resort. So let's see where we at. 1485. 1485. So it's got it at 300, which I think is going to be a little bit too high for this area. But that's where price per square foot has it. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. 180. Check our map. Ooh,
I come up with 280.
You came up with 280?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. 299. It's hard to lean on this one because it's across McCart Avenue. So it's kind of hard to lean on that one particularly. These are all going in the twos. 236 is the most so far. So let's look at this entire little block right here. Okay. Yeah, this one's a tough one. So, I mean, if I had to put a number on it, 225, 195, 200, 220, 215, 236. This was 220. Man, I'd put it at 225.
Have you noticed I give you all the hard ones?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd put it at 225. And again, this kind of falls back on like having the biggest house in the area is not always the best. So this property is very limited from these comps here. And because there's not a lot of investor activity going on, there's not a lot of ARV comps, or there's not a lot of flips happening in the area. That kind of lets me know that it's not up and coming just yet. Two, there's not a whole lot of demand for this particular area. So if I were to look at this as an investment property, I would be extremely conservative on my numbers. And I'd run this at a 0.65 actually, not a 0.7, just for that reason. And I raise 250, and I would just go ahead and take off about 50K. And that brings us to 96,250. So all in all, it'd be at like 80 to 85 for an offer on this one, just because of the location and where it's at, and the lack of good data going on in the area. It's just not a strong market for this one. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Cool, cool, cool. Cool beans. All right, let's do this one. Let's knock this one out. We're going to use Propelio because this one, oh, it's already on there because it's in Broken Bow. So we're going to check this out. So this is,
That's the cabin.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the 2-bed, it's 1 bath. We want to see what's going on in this little cubby hole here. 2-bed, 1 bath. We're looking at 616 square feet, 2003 build. We got a lot of like active listings, but not a lot of sold listings. So let's go back 6 months. Yep, nope, same story. Let's go back 9 months. There we go. We got a little bit more data now. Okay, cool beans. Now this I can work with. So this is going to be all over the place. I can tell you that now because you got $68,000 and you got $650,000. Definitely going to be Airbnbs out here for sure. So let's check it out. So we got a 2-1, 616 square feet. We got a 2-2 here, pretty similar, sold for 270 on the same street as well. Cabin probably going to be pretty similar. Yeah, it's got a hot tub on it as well. Yeah, this is an Airbnb, and this sold back in June. So I would say, I can tell you now, just by looking at this, it's probably going to be very similar. And this, again, guys, this isn't Broken Bow. So Broken Bow is very big with Airbnbs and very big with cabins. So they've got it they've got it on the market for 380, which I think is super high, honestly. Let's look at kind of what this looks like. So it's listed for 380.
And also, it makes
534 days.
64,000 left on the mortgage.
They have how much?
Like 64.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's cute. It's super cute, you know. Yeah, it's not horrendous. I mean, well, this is the outside, but it's as you would expect, you know, any kind of Airbnb in Broken Bow, any kind of cabin for the most part. It's just overpriced, and you can tell it's overpriced because it's been sitting on the market for 534 days. Yeah. So that 380 range, dude, it ain't happening, man. No, sorry, Bob. Okay, so not gonna work. Now let's see where we're at. This one sold for 250. That's about $120,000 difference. Okay. And we got a 1-2 here. This sold for 390. Interesting. Same street. But it is bigger, about 500 square feet. Okay. I mean, it looks a little nicer. Yeah, it looks a little bit nicer. It's a 1-bed, 2-bath, 1,100 square feet. Interesting. Okay. So that sold for 390, and that sold in December. Interesting. It's not bad. It's 1-bed, 2-bath, 1,100 square feet. Hmm. 250, 390, big difference, and it's listed for 370, 380. Very interesting. Well, we know that's not going to work because it's listed for $10,000 less. So that's not going to work out too well. If I were to lean on it, I'd lean on that 250 range a little bit more. But let's see if we can get some more data. No, not really. Okay. Let's see, 022. This one's listed on Marlin, same street, listed at 350. It says 151 days on the market. So that lets me know not a lot of people are picking up properties in this little area of Broken Bow particularly, or people don't want anything that's small, because these cabins are fairly small. Okay, so now I know 350 is listed too high. Not going to work. Let's see what else we got. Here we go. 1, 2, listed at 590. 130 days on market. This is your days on market. 130 days on market. That's insane. This is our subject property here. I believe. Nope. Yes. Oh shit. 616. No. Yeah, 545 days on market. Yeah, this is just not a hot area. So if I were to come in and if anything, I'd put it at like 200,000. Yeah. But honestly, with all this kind of going on, I wouldn't touch it.
I didn't think so, but I figured, it's Airbnb. Just, you never know. So I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it just for that reason. Not for the reason that it's ARV, but it's hard to determine what you could essentially value the property at based off of these comps that are going on around it. You could look at this as like the strategy is conducting the Airbnb. Let's see. But did you ever? I think you did. You sent me the like their central profits, right, for that Airbnb?
No, they never sent them to me.
Yeah, then I wouldn't even touch it. Now, if it was a cash cow and it was doing like super good, yeah, if it was a cash cow and it was doing super good, then I'd say we could like jump on it. But for the most part, because of like the where are we at? There we go. Interesting. I think I broke it. Yeah, so I wouldn't touch it because it's you got a lot of properties in the area that are just not selling that are pretty similar to the square footage. It's got 500 days on market, asking way too high. There's not a lot of good data to go off of. It's in pretty rural of an area for the most part. I know Oklahoma, like Broken Bow's growing. It's real popular for Airbnb. But if they're not able to perform, or if they're not able to give any sort of T12, then I just don't see worth looking into it. So for you guys that aren't familiar with what a T12 is, a T12 is your trailing 12 months. So your T12 is showing you the financial performance. How do I bring this back up? It's showing you the financial performance of the property, how it has been performing financially. There we go. How the property has been performing financially over the last 12 months. So in this case, when you're doing an Airbnb, you should be able to see every single date that Airbnb was rented out and how much the I guess not tenant, but I guess sort of tenant, how much the tenant or the person was paying to see see how that property performed that month. That would give you an average idea as to how well that property is going to perform on a monthly basis. But if they are unable to provide you that T12, you can't see that information. And if you can't see that information, you don't have gross rental profits, or you don't have gross profits to kind of calculate, which means you can't figure out what your net operating income is going to be. And because you can't figure out your NOI, you then cannot figure out your cap rate. So with it being an Airbnb, you would have to have a T12 to actually look at it. But other than that, I would pass on it. Does that make sense? No, that was a lot.
No, I was going to anyway. Once you started showing that other stuff, so.
Cool. All right, let's see here. Holy shit.
I got like 3 emails like that.
Oh my gosh.
I told you I was busy.
Dude, that's a
I
lot.
was lying to you.
All right, so let's look at Arlington. I feel like Fort Worth, for the most part, is usually kind of the same ball game. I would even encourage you to start looking in like the Dallas area, because you're gonna have better or higher ARVs in Dallas than you will in Fort Worth. As you get out of Tarrant County and start getting more closer to like the Dallas Collin County area, you're going to have a lot more higher ARVs, and the market's going to be doing a little bit better as far as the growth goes. So typically, if you're able to pick up a property like in the Dallas Collin County area, you're likely to have a little bit more room to make a little bit of a bigger spread on it, ideally. So I would definitely encourage you to start looking into like the Dallas County, Collin County area for sure. Let's see. But let's check this one out because it's in Arlington. Arlington is not bad of an area. Okay. Ooh, great. So let's do this. Let's open that up. Virginia Lane 103. We're looking at 4601. So far, I do not see a 4601. Okay, very interesting. So for whatever reason, that address is not popping up. So let me go here.
Oh, because it's coming up.
Oh, it's in Fort Worth.
It's coming up Fort Worth. Sorry.
You're fine.
Bad.
Okay. Let me see. What did you budget for the rehab? I tell you now, ARV is probably going to be around like the 200s, maybe 250. But your rehab, you got 35 to 40K. Let's see here. Let's go back to it.
And I didn't look at the outside, like where all the stuff is, right on the front, because I wasn't sure. I just did the ARV for the inside for now.
Okay. So definitely going to need a lot more than the 40K. You got a massive ass crack right here. And the I wouldn't say that's foundation because it's probably going to be pier and beam, but you got a big old crack right here. So it's definitely going to have foundational issues. And another reason you know this is a pier and beam property. So when you're looking at foundation, you got 2 types. You've got pier and beam, you've got a slab. A slab is a concrete slab that the house is built on, right? So when you look at new builds today, they pour the concrete, build the house. Well, then you got pier and beam. You don't have that. It's basically like cylinders. Now you got like cylinder blocks that hold it up and a bunch of other shit that holds it up as well. So foundation is a little bit cheaper when it comes to pier and beam. As far as like any kind of fixing it goes, you just have to like adjust it and level it and stuff. So, but it's not as costly as putting piers under the foundation or anything, but it's still expensive. But one of the ways you could tell it's pier and beam is when you have vents like this, because that goes in underneath the property. So that's one way.
Okay. Makes sense.
All this shit right here has to go. So that's going to be about, and then you need new fence in the backyard. So just this is going to be about 5K. I would budget about 5K for it. You've got the soffit for the most part needs to go. Actually, it's not even soffit, it's plywood, but you could tell it's like super degraded based off of the color. So that's one thing to kind of consider. Yes, if it has a crawl space, it's pier and beam, 100%. The bars got to go. I will take that off. Going into the interior, that needs renovation. That needs to be updated. I guess this is the washroom, but I don't know. Baseboards need to be taken out or replaced. Door needs to be painted. Walls need paint. The windows are probably original, so that's going to be needed to be replaced. Carpet's pretty bad. All that's got to go. All this has to go, get replaced. That needs a new door. Same thing here: paint, flooring, door, windows.
I was going to ask you about windows because I wasn't sure
Yeah,
if those would needs to be done or not.
Yeah, you definitely want to consider windows because that's gonna your windows will really impact the overall energy efficiency. So I would definitely look at it. The house next to it, we'll check it out then. And then you got this right here. So that's like, it's like
Right.
leaning pretty hard. So that's also something to budget. But this whole thing is just ugly as shit, to be honest with you.
It is.
Probably going to need a new roof. Definitely going to need gutters because there's no gutters on it. You've got it's not fascia. I don't even know what the hell that. It looks like metal, but it's all bent and shit right there.
So I have my notes on here too,
Mhm.
and I put tear down question mark.
No, it's not tear down.
No.
It's not tear down. It's just going to need a lot of money poured into it, and it's 1,300 square feet. So I could see this as being about a 75K job. So,
Okay.
it's probably going to need a new roof as well, and that chimney is probably going to need to be serviced. So yeah, I'd say about like a 75K job. 175 for this area is going to be listed way too high. Realistically, we'd have to be closer to probably like 75, 80 to pick this up to wholesale it if that was the game plan. So yeah. Oof.
Okay.
For the house next to it, that's a good question. Where the hell is this property at?
Right there.
Okay, let's check this one out. All right, so I don't know. It's hard to tell because there's not a lot of photos for this one. But overall, the outside looks a hell of a lot better. It looks like it's got more of a new roof as well.
Does that equate into when you when you're comping a deal and
Ooh, good question.
say that neighborhood's pretty rough looking,
Uh-huh.
that would be a determining factor whether you'd even want to consider buying the place, right? Because if the whole neighborhood's trashy, it's all about location when it comes to real estate, isn't it?
Sometimes, yeah. So it really depends. So in Fort Worth, you'll find a lot of subdivisions that are going through a lot of gentrification. And so you'll see like these old ass houses that were built in the early 1900s or even 1940s, 1950s, so on and so forth. But then you've got a lot of like activity going on in that area particularly. And a lot of the activity you're going to see is going to essentially be like new builds. So if you see a lot of new builds in that area, then you could look at that property as a potential teardown, right? Because at the end of the day, what you want to figure, if you're looking at it like that, what you want to figure out is one, what are the new builds selling for in that area? And then two, is that ARV for a new build going to be higher than your ARV if you're to rehab that property, right? And typically you're going to have a pretty big gap in between. Your new builds are usually going to go for, unless it's in a historical district, then it's going to be the other way around. But if it's not in a historical district, your new builds are usually going to be higher up as far as like what they're selling for in comparison to these flips. And so if you find a property that's small enough and it makes more sense to do a tear down on it and just rebuild, that would be the route to kind of go on it. So it wouldn't necessarily be like something to veer away from. You just want to look at it from every aspect and every angle. Does it make sense? If there's enough activity for new builds in the area, does it make sense to tear this one down and just rebuild on the lot? And so typically when you're doing, like, let's say a new build, let's say you got properties, new build properties are going for about $300,000. Remember, if we're going this route, we're not looking at the property, we're looking at the land value. So if we're at $300,000, we want to take that number and multiply it by, realistically, you want to do about 0.15. So that gives us $45,000. Now to tear down a property, you're looking at a demo cost of $10,000 to $12,000. So you're going to take off, let's say, $12,000. That's $33,000. And now you want to take off your assignment. Let's say your assignment is 10. You're going to come in and offer $23,000 for that property, particularly because you're considering the cost for the lot, the cost for the tear down. And that's not thinking about how much it's going to cost to build on the property. So the whole 0.15 is essentially what a developer is going to run this at to determine where they need to be at. But a developer is usually not going to do 1.5. They'll usually do 0.2. So if we're at $300,000 for the RV, a developer will look at this. If they're looking at the land, do 0.2. Oh, that didn't work at all. Let's do it again. Group clear. So 300 times that by 0.2. 60. There we go. So they're going to look at this and look at it as like, okay, I can potentially come in at this lot for $60,000 minus the cost of the teardown. So that would be their maximum allowable offer is $48,000. Does that make sense? Cool. That's how you want to run a teardown, and that's how you want to look at how to break down the numbers for a teardown. And that's the easiest, fastest, most simplest way to do that. Otherwise, now you got to look at the cost for building a brand new home for a new build, which is about $100 per square foot. So a 1,500 square foot home is going to cost you about $150,000 to build. And there's a lot, and then you got the acquisitions, total acquisitions cost for the rehab or for the purchase of the property, the cost of the new build, the holdover fees. Like there's a lot that goes into it. So instead of having to worry about all that, just find the ARV of what new properties are going for, multiply that by 0.15, subtract about $12,000 for the cost of the demo, and that'll let you know what your maximum allowable offer will be for that lot. And then you can come in at about $10,000 lower to secure it. Because at the end of the day, you're not buying the property, you're buying the lot. So does that kind of make sense? Yeah. Cool. Daniel, to answer your question, man, you asked a really good question. So what is your typical price per square foot for cosmetic, medium, and full gut rehabs in Dallas, Fort Worth? Really good question. So it also depends on, I wouldn't really say there's a price per square foot per se. I mean, you can base it off of that, yeah. But I don't know. I just don't like price per square foot, if I'm being entirely honest. But what I would do, there's a pretty good cheat code that I kind of use, man. And, after doing this for so long, you just kind of get used to it. But if you're looking at a property that's like 1,000 square feet, you've got high ticket items for every property you look at. You've got your roof, you've got your foundation, HVAC, water heaters, roof, foundation, HVAC, water heater. Yeah, that sounds about right. Roof, HVAC. Yep. Foundation. Yep.
Plumbing.
Water heater. Yep. Thank you. Plumbing and electrical. Thank you. Yes. So plumbing and electrical. Those are your other ones. So you got several high ticket items, right? So your overall estimated rehab is going to depend on how many of these high ticket items are going to be required. So when you're looking at a property that just needs nothing but cosmetic updating, like lipstick, flooring, the restrooms need to be renovated, the kitchen needs to be renovated, but it's got good bones, which means it has a good roof, has good foundation, has good HVAC. All that stuff is good. You just need cosmetic. If you're looking at like a 1,500 square foot house, I would bank on about $35,000 just for cosmetic to cover it. So when you're looking at a kitchen, if you got a medium-sized kitchen, your cost for that kitchen is going to be anywhere from about $12,000 to $15,000. If you got a large kitchen, you're looking at anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. Your restrooms are about $5,000 each to flip or to renovate a restroom. So if you got a 3-bed, 2-bath, well, you got 2 baths. That's $10,000 right there for the restroom. You got to renovate that kitchen. You're looking at about, let's say it's a medium 1,500 square foot house. So you got a medium-sized kitchen. Well, you got $10,000 for your restrooms. You're going to have about $15,000 for the kitchen. So you're at, what is that? 10, 15, 25, $25,000 just for your cosmetics on that. And then you got the flooring throughout the house. You got paint. You've got the fixtures. So I would tag on about another $10,000 to cover all that. So overall, cosmetic touch-ups for a 1,500 square foot house, you're looking at about $35,000. Now, if let's say take the same square footage house, 1,500 square foot house, but now it needs a roof. Well, for a 1,500 square foot roof, or for a roof for a 1,500 square foot property, you're looking at about $7,500. So I would just round it up to 10, make life simple, right? So now we're at $45,000 because we have one high ticket item. If it needs, let's say it needs some foundation work, like let's say it needs, 32 piers that need to go under it. Well, that's going to be about $9,500. So it's another $10,000. So now we're at $55,000 for this 1,500 square foot house, right? Does that make sense? So that's kind of how you're going to look at it. The higher ticket items you've got, the higher your rehab is going to be, right? So typically you could have a house that looks like absolute dog shit cosmetically, but if it has really good bones, that can run, if it's super bad, like let's say it's a hoarder house and it's just like terrible, like even if there's like doo-doo on the walls in the restroom, it's disgusting. You're still looking at like maybe at that. Now high ticket items, 1,500 square foot. Just for the extra cleaning and all that good stuff, I'd budget about 40, 45 for it. So, but if it's been well maintained, it's just outdated, then 35 is a pretty good healthy rehab for it. So it just depends overall on how many high ticket items that you've got. But the higher the square footage, the higher your cost is going to be. So 1,500 square feet, cosmetic only, 35. If you're looking at 2,000 square feet, or let's say 1,700 square feet, I would bump that up to about 40. If you're going to 2,000 and it's just cosmetic only, you're looking at about 40, 45. If you're at 2,500 square feet, you're at 50, 55. And if you go up to 3,000 square feet, now I would just start off like right at 60 to 65. But the more high ticket items that you have, the higher the overall cost of that rehab is going to be. So does that make sense? Cool. Does that kind of answer that question a little bit? Sweet.
Hey, Daniel, he went over this last week and had typed it out as far as square footage and amount and blah, blah, blah. I screenshot it. I'll shoot it over.
Sounds good.
I
appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you, there.
Yeah, of course, bro. Sweet. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions? Everybody good for the most part? Got a good solid I guess understanding as like what we're looking for when running comps. There's a lot that goes into it for the most part, but I don't know. How did I do? Did I break it down to where it's like easy to understand, or was I going a little too fast?
You nailed it. Nailed it.
Sweet. Daniel, what do you think, man? What's your feedback on it?
No, I like it, man. This is great. This is awesome.
Cool. Killer.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's see. Who else do we have? Mariela, I think you kind of hopped on a little bit late. Do you have any questions?
I do not currently, but thank you for
Sweet.
checking.
Yeah,
I do apologize.
you're fine. You're totally fine. You're totally fine. So all the recordings that we do, all the recordings, all the sessions that we do, all the training sessions that we do are going to be recorded, and it will be in this chat for 30 days. And I finally made my YouTube look pretty. So so I'll also take the videos from here and I'm uploading them into YouTube as well. So everybody has access to the videos. That way nobody kind of like falls behind or gets left behind. But yeah, if we're all good to go on that, I'm gonna hop off, take a break because this water is like flowing through me and it's like a dam right now. So gotta open the gates, man.
Nice seeing y'all.
But
See y'all on the next one.
absolutely, I'll see y'all in a bit. All right, y'all. Later.
See ya.
Cool. That was a good one. Also, for you guys on YouTube, I know you guys cannot see my screen or anything that I'm talking about. I get it. I'm trying to figure this whole YouTube stuff out as far as going live. But the videos will be in here, so you will have access to it. So, killer. All right. See you on the next one.